Is Destiny set to redefine first-person shooters? That's what I'll be discussing with Games Master editor Joel Gregory right now in our preview of Destiny.
Your mission is vital, Guardian. If you succeed, you will become legend. If you fail, this city will fall, and the last light of civilization will go out.
Hello, I'm James from CBG, and I'm joined by Joel, the editor of Games Master, to talk Destiny. Hello, Joel.
Hello, everybody.
Now, you've been out to see the studio and play the game. What can you tell us about it? Let's start with a general overview. It's a first-person multiplayer shooter set after all human life has been almost wiped out, right?
Yeah, pretty much. The first thing to say is it's really, really good. I think hopes are obviously understandably extremely high given the studio and the ambition and the amount of money that's evidently been put into it. So going out there to play it, I was kind of nervous to see if it would stand up to those expectations, and to be honest, I was absolutely blown away. I think it was incredible, and it's going to be absolutely amazing. Like you say, the premise essentially is that most of the world has been wiped out, barring a few people left in one safe city on Earth, which is the one you can see sort of beneath the massive Traveller, which is that giant kind of like now iconic moon thing that hangs over Earth. And essentially you play a Guardian, which means you can harness some of the power from this mysterious Traveller, and essentially you are there kind of pushing back out of the city to kind of reclaim land and fight this new, or a number of new threats that have emerged, which are trying to kind of wipe you out for good, essentially.
So, gameplay-wise then, do you start in the city and then you walk out into an open world?
So basically you don't walk out, there's a map called the Director, I believe it's called, from which you can pick and choose the missions that you undertake, and every mission you have can be played solo or in co-op with usually two other people, but there are some which have more. And you kind of all cluster around in your spaceships on a menu screen and then zoom into a world. But there is a hub area as well, so yeah, there's a bit of both in there.
And as well as all that, we also have public events. So what are these and how do they work?
So yeah, public events are a little bit tricky to explain, but basically if you're playing a mission on a particular location in the game, whether you're playing on your own or with other people, certain events will happen at certain times and you can choose to become a part of them or not. So we played one, we were in a mission, and it basically says there's a public event happening nearby, and if you can just wander off and ignore it, or you can choose to get involved by essentially fighting whoever it is you're supposed to be fighting. So the way the game works it is that you basically are told about this event, as are all of the other players who are in that area, and then as many of you as choose to get involved can or cannot, and basically for that time, you are then thrust into basically a public lobby, and you all have a communal goal to, fight X amount of enemies or stop this invasion or take down. The one we had was like one super tough kind of mini boss character that we all had to kind of come together to fight. And you do that, and you either complete it or you don't. And then if you do, you all get rewarded with, loot and gear and money and stuff like that. And then as soon as it's over, essentially you are seamlessly transitioned back to your private game. Nice. So this is the game's big thing, and like one of the big ambitions is that it's trying to make single player or co-op or all of the bits you're doing integrated with kind of without you really knowing. So you'll be like every time you go to a new area to do a mission, you start in a sort of public area. So you can see other Guardians and kind of wave and dance and stuff like that, and you can actually dance. And then as you sort of go into the kind of area of the level which your mission is set in, it just shuts off the other players, and so it'll just be you or you and your co-op buddies. But then when a public event happens, you're back in the wider world, and then you're back again. And it did work really well. Like in fairness, we were inside the studio on their network, but you didn't really know when you were doing which. So that's a kind of way I think they're trying to introduce people to a more multiplayer dynamic who maybe think they don't want to play multiplayer, and then they're going, I'm playing this and it's really fun. So you get to see more of the Destiny universe that way, I think.
Nice. And that loot and gear that you get from doing these public events and missions and things all leads into character customization and weapons and that kind of stuff. And you were saying just before we started recording this that kind of stuff is huge and massively deep.
Yeah, and I think this is where the kind of RPG element to the game comes in. And one of the things that's going to keep people like playing for a really, really long time is you can build your character and specialize it to a fairly mind-boggling extent, like more so than any other first-person shooter I've ever seen. So there are 3 classes. There's Titan, Warlock, and Hunter. And then each of those classes has 2 what's called focuses. And your focus dictates your superpower. So everyone has a superpower which you activate by tapping both shoulder buttons. But it also comes with like a suite of abilities around it. So things like your jumping power, so you can have like double jumps or sort of floaty jetpack thing, what kind of grenade you use, what kind of melee attack you have. There's about 8 to 10 things that sit within your focus to choose from, and you have 2 separate focuses. And the focuses upgrade, so you can then upgrade your powers, and you can kind of flip back and forth between each one, so you can upgrade each of them. And then you've got 3 weapon slots: primary, special, and heavy, I believe they are. And then you've got 5 gear slots, I think.
Man.
And then you've got 3 what are called vanity slots. So you can choose the appearance of your spaceship, the appearance of your ghost, which is the floating AI cube thing that helps you out on missions, and also your vehicle. So in missions you can call in a land vehicle. The one we used was a sort of floating speeder style bike. I don't know if there are going to be more or not. So yeah, there's about 12 different categories of things you can do, and then, as I say, there's your focus, and you find gear along the way, and you also can buy gear from the tower, which is kind of the hub area. And not only does the focuses have upgrades, even your armor and your weapons have upgrades as well. So it's quite complicated.
Yeah.
It's luckily the UI they've designed is really intuitive and really nice to use, and very clean and kind of fairly simple. But there's a lot to try and convey it when you're not sitting in front of it with the pad in your hand is quite complicated. But what it will mean is a lot of customization, and people will get hooked on upgrades and finding new gear and stuff like that. So I think that bit's going to work really, really well.
Safe to say then that everyone will probably have a unique character while they're playing it.
I think that's again part of it. They want you to feel like you have ownership and you're invested in your Guardian, and your Guardian plays like you want it to. I think one of the things they kept saying is they don't want there to be an optimal way of playing. So it's like, some games reward this gun slightly overpowered or whatever. This is more about how you want it to work, rather than the game suggesting that this would be the best way.
All right, so something we haven't touched on yet is another game type called Strike.
Yeah.
How does this one differ to the other ones?
So strikes are 3-man co-op missions. They're not campaign missions, which are also for 1 to 3 players.
Right.
Strikes are essentially side missions, but they have a story. So they are directed towards an aim, usually a boss character. So you get together with your two buddies, and they're always for 3. So if you're not playing with mates, you'll be match made into teams. And essentially, there's a little bit of narrative in terms of kind of cutscene, or you're told that this bad dude is doing this bad thing in this place, go and clear it up. And they last about sort of 20 to 30 minutes. And like I say, you tend to, we played one, and you go through kind of several areas full of, smaller enemies or mini bosses and stuff like that on your way to the ultimate mission goal. So it's like, it's sort of a kind of a story-led but not campaign-style co-op mission. And they're really good fun. It's a chance for you to kind of use the different class abilities to interact with one another, which they do. They're quite complementary. And again, you get rewards, you get loot, there are treasure chests to be found. So it's something that you're not going to have to do to advance the story as far as I'm aware, but you will want to, because they're really quite good fun.
And there's also another one called Patrols. If it wasn't enough already.
I know, it's information overload. So Patrols can be done on your own, and they are essentially the kind of game's open world style not missions as such. You just explore, basically.
Oh, right.
You go into an area and you explore. So again, you can find loot, you can find treasure, you can uncover new areas that you didn't know about before. And then while you're there, you will also be set sort of mini objectives, so like collect so and so, or destroy 3 blah blahs, or whatever, stuff like that. But they're the kind of things you can do if you want to maybe just be on your own for a bit and kind of relax and just scour for loot or try out your new guns or things like that, basically.
So finally then, as a summing up thing, would you say it's sort of a combination of the Borderlands customization with some elements of Halo and other things thrown in?
So it's obviously got like Halo, echoes of Halo in kind of the art style, and ultimately it is a sci-fi shooter. But to me, it really felt like the kind of the best FPS mechanics from Halo mixed with the co-op of Borderlands with even more customization, mixed with the kind of addictiveness and lootiness of something like World of Warcraft, which is quite a heady fusion, but somehow I think they're going to make it work.
Awesome. Well, for more on Destiny, don't forget to go and pick up a copy of GM, which is on sale,
On
Joel.
sale 22nd of May with a beautiful Destiny piece of artwork on the cover.
Brilliant. Thanks for joining us, Joel. And don't forget to subscribe if you like more Destiny content.
War is coming. We barely survived the last. We must regain the offensive.